Yes, thank you for joining us again. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Oyo State, and wherever it is you're joining us this morning. Welcome. The program is AM120 on BCOS television. My name is Florence Sherrill. We begin with the newspaper review, after which we bring you the weather report, followed shortly by the interview segment where we have our guests with us in the studio. I have with me the Vanguard this morning, and on the front page, the major story, relief for ADC. Other parties as A court stops deregistration. Blast trial judge Lifu over judicial rascality. INEC back stay of execution. Opposition alleges plot to silence rivals. Olawepo Ashim Adebayo Accord CNPP Ame Ajulo speaks. Justice Lifu denies to hand off ADC case. Others mark Aregbesola to pay 1 million naira fine. Still on the front page, federal government moves to end open grazing identities. Identifies 470 gazette reserves. Insecurity, Oyo will never be another Chibok, says Makinde. Gunmen attack NIPSS in Plateau, kills 2 soldiers, 1 policeman. Proposed plastic ban could trigger deindustrialization, job losses, says man. Ship remains on hold in Strait of Hormuz despite U.S.-Iran deal. Troops rescue 398 kidnapped victims, arrested 1 terrorist and neutralizes 10. Worried delineation. Ishekiri faults Ijo Urobo interpretation of Tinubu's intervention. Senate Oshiomole at daggers drawn over Natasha's 6-month suspension. That's what we have on the front page of the Vanguard this morning. Now taking some stories inside of the Vanguard newspaper. No criminal group will be tolerated to hold our community hostage, says Zamfara governor. Zamfara vows to combat drug abuse and human trafficking. Still on page 4, Zamfara bans farming within school premises. Moving on to page 5, relief for ADC other parties as A court stop deregistration. On page 6, moving on to page 6, we have troops rescue 398 kidnapped victims, arrested 1 terrorist and neutralizes 10. Gunmen attack mining site, kills 5 in Plateau State. Tipper truck crushes 6 to death in Delta State. Gridlock returns to truck chokes Agor Palace Way. And that's on page 6 of the Vanguard this morning. Moving on to page 8. Federal government to end open grazing identifies 470 gazette reserves. Audit report, Senate clears custom of 62.2 billion naira under remittance. Moving on to page 9, gunmen attack NIPSS in Plateau, kills 2 soldiers and 1 policeman. Top government officials, labor leaders meet over rising workplace tension. Moving on to on page 10, we have as bad loans rise, expert identifies 3 fixes for Nigeria's lending sector. On page 11, Enugu Airport concession key to $30 billion GDP target, says SSG, the state government. Ebonyi indigents condemn threats against opposition and back PDP. Ex-Governor Ugwanyi disowns claims of supporting PDP candidates. Crisis in Enugu as members reject primaries, pass vote of no confidence on Nwodo and others. Abia community vigilante groups force vandalism for power cables. Moving on to page 12. We have Isoko Group demands restoration of constituency seats. Worry delineation, Isekiri faults Ijo Urobo interpretation of Tinubu's intervention. On page 13, insecurity, Oyo will never be another Chibok, says Makinde, vows safe return of abducted teachers, pupils. Very dark man leads protest over insecurity in Oyo State. Oyo government demolishes building used as armed depot. Ondo government moves against schools attacks. Still on page 13, Ekiti polls Shetima, 18 governors, others rally support for Oyebanji. Lagos shuts Ido Bridge for 5 days. Moving on to page 14 of the Vanguard newspaper, Tinubu replicating Lagos model to transform Nigeria's economy, says Atoyebi. Delta community urges government to construct access roads. More stories, we'll now take more stories on the Vanguard this morning. On page 16, we have the abduction of Rabbi Abubakar. That's on the viewpoint of the Vanguard this morning, looking for more stories. On business, we have IMF warns as Nigeria captures 60% of SSA stablecoin inflows, flags risk of monetary policy, financial integrity, as Nigeria ranks second global with $59 billion crypto inflows. Still on page 19, we have ACMB kicks off 30th anniversary celebration with tree planting initiatives. Shetima flags off NADF 515,720 bags of fertilizers intervention. And that's what we have on page 19. Still on business economy, on page 20, we have proposed plastic ban could trigger deindustrialization and job losses. TNC expresses concern over rising case of vandalism in Niger State. IMF prescriptions, experts warns federal government against costly foreign loans, VAT hike. Still on page 20, LG MultiChoice launches TV reality series. Julius Berger earns 1 certification for environmental management excellence. Moving on from that, we'll find more stories on the Vanguard this morning to take. On insecurity, Katsina short POS ban fuels in jerrycan. Motorcycles also. PRP renews call for Tinubu's registration. Still on page 25, federal government to close poultry supply gaps. Ties import allocation to performance. Payment firm marks 10th anniversary. Still on page 25, we have why Muslim deserves better leadership. This is coming from Accord candidates. On page 28, Edo local government poll, APC candidate pledges infrastructure and schools. This is coming from Matawali. Nigerians in Asia celebrate Tinubu's renewed hope agenda in Japan. Experts demand stronger player protection as Africa's gaming industry expands. That's what we have on page 27. We'll now take some sports stories on the Vanguard this morning, sports segment of the Vanguard. 2026 World Cup Super Eagles ranked second highest missing team. Terry says they will be missed. Lumping fans of different countries together, a big risk, says fans chief. World Cup ITUC raises racism fairness concern over referee ban. Ajibade launches scholarship scheme for grassroots coaches in Nigeria. The back page of the Vanguard, the final page, still talking about sports. Super Eagles ranked second highest missing team. Terry says they will be missed. ITUC raises racism fairness concern over referee ban. Lose your seat, says NDC signs indemnity from within can researchers say. 2 soldiers, 1 policeman, execution of judgments, deregistering ADC Accord Party, 3 others. On page 4, we have court finds ADC Aregbesola 1 million naira over application for judge recusal in federal government plans bottom decline. Okere hails ahead to show why Africa must invest in clean energy for rural communities. Still on the Nigerian Tribune, Arts and Review, Threads of Identity, how traditional attires define Nigeria culture. Moving on to security, we will rescue abducted pupils, teachers. Makinde assures as very dark man lead protest against insecurity. Kwara traditional ruler dies in captivity after 80 million naira ransom payment. Oyo demolishes building used to stockpile arms and warns criminals. On page 14, peace, unity, and Pensia to endanger progress. peaceful coexistence, says Jerry. Moving on from that, we have on page 15, Delta Assembly gains prominence among committee of state legislatures. Moving on to page 16, federal government commits to sustainable financing for rapid economic growth. Stakeholders push for judicial reforms to strengthen judicial accountability, effective justice delivery. Sanwo-Olu CBN Governor Obi Amechi, 37 Catholic bishops attend Okoje's 90th birthday. Moving on from that, on page 19, more stories to take. On page 20, Ekiti 2026, the contest, the issues, and the bow effect, the registration of parties, respect court decision, uphold rule of law, says Lamido. This is on page 20 of the Nigerian Tribune. On page 21, NCC wants judges to take bigger role in cybercrime online safety fight. Moving on from that, more stories to take on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Gunmen attack NIPSS, kills 3 security personnel. In security, Senate reconvenes June 23rd for critical decisions. On terrorism, we have recorded 150 convictions in 2 days, says the federal government. Simple writing test can detect early cognitive decline, researchers says. On page 27, ECOWAS targets universal energy access as West Africa struggles with power deficits. Still on page 27, Kogi Varsity bans students, vehicles, and social gatherings after breach. Moving on to page 28, gunmen kills 5 miners, injures many others in Plateau community. EU or your state deepen partnership on agriculture, education, and gender issues. That's all we have on the Nigerian Tribune. Now moving on to the sports segment. Spain goal remains my best World Cup moment, says Mutiu Adepoju. CGC, Volleyball, NCS reiterates commitment to youth empowerment. More stories on the sports segment. Ghana in court over party visa denial. Iran forces to leave US just minutes after opener. Nigeria still waiting for a peaceful morning. And that's all we have on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. We'll go for a short break, then we'll bring you our weather reports, and shortly after we'll be back with the sports, with our interview segment. Thank you.
point?
Of course now, they use money points.
Confirm.
Money Point, made for your progress.
Home. It's in the welcoming little hands wrapped around you in warm embrace, asking,
"What for lunch, Mommy?"
So me and Kuka. It's in the coming from me, Gida. While the foreign a delicious plate of me and Kuka.
This Miyo Kuka is very delicious.
It's up to architect Bisola and builder Brian to rebuild the city.
We'll need some help. Let's get up and go!
You need more Cowbell Choco to complete your mission.
To get up and go, give them Cowbell Choco.
Super Multivitamin Active Teens. Super Multivitamin Active Teens. Shine on.
Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us on the interview segment of AM120 today. Well, of course, there has been plenty happenings across the country, Nigeria, but there is one special thing that we have to talk about today, and it is the fact that it's been a month after the abductions in Orire local government area of Oyo State. And we have been looking at so many things. For many Nigerians, the story may actually have gradually disappeared from the front pages or from, all the front pages of what we have been reading on social media especially. And we have seen a lot of things coming through. Yesterday, we had a protest rocking Oyo State. And yes, indeed, we have had different things happening. But then for parents, for relatives, for classmates, for community leaders, members in the different communities, there are so much questions in their heads. And we look at all of those things right here today as we talk about 1 month in captivity, about the Orire abductions. And this morning, to help us shed more light on the conversation and throw more insight in everything that we have been trying to unravel, we have Dr. Wahid Busari, who is a journalist, a lecturer at the City University, Ibadan. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My pleasure to be with you.
Now it's been a month, a couple of days over a month now, since we had that incident. A lot of people want to understand what is in there. Prolonged uncertainty about what is happening with a loved one, with a child, with a mother, with a teacher, with a community member. So many questions in the heads of people. And we have gotten assurances and reassurances from the government, both federal and at state level. What exactly do you think is going on?
What happened in Orire local government was not what we prepared for. But we could say that it was an incident that was waiting to happen. In the sense that we've had cases of abductions, kidnappings, and what have you across the country. And the probability was that since our security agencies were not relenting in combating these criminals, the tendency would be that if they are not caught, they may probably move away from places that they were, hitherto. And I think that was confirmed by Defense Headquarters, saying that those who perpetrated the crime in Orire were people who were smoked out of a particular location. So what it means was that we needed to have prepared, ahead of time, being proactive, that this may probably happen. And I think before that time too, there were reports, around that some activities were suspected to be going on, within that forest. And probably those who are concerned to take, proactive action didn't do that. Now, it has happened. We know that it may be easier, and I've had, discussions surrounding the kidnap incident that happened in Ibadan and the way our security agents responded. But we need to understand there's a difference between someone who is warehoused in a confined area that is easily accessible, and someone is warehoused in an area that is not easily accessible. We need to understand that. So it takes time. Then again, for the first time ever, we now have a case where terrorists are demanding, so to say, that those they've held in captivity have to be swapped, okay, with those in confinement. This is the first time ever. So it's a new dynamic. So how do we approach it? Do we accede to the demand of the terrorists, or we find a way out of it? And our governor has given us that assurance that we are not only using kinetic approach, we are taking into consideration non-kinetic approach. When you are doing that, it takes time. Even when you are using kinetic approach, because you want to minimize, collateral damage. If our interest is just to say, oh, whatever we get at the end of the day, we don't mind. We may say we want to go all out. But our concern is that those in captivity should be brought back alive. If you are doing that, it requires tactics. When taking into tactics, it requires time. It requires patience, and it requires understanding. So all of us, we need to know that these people are there. And it's even reassuring that last week or thereabout, the governor told us that those that are in captivity are still within that forest. So that takes it away from us that, oh, we know where we're facing. We know direction where we're moving to. Unlike if you don't know where these people are located, it becomes more difficult for us. So now that we know that they are still within the area they have been quarantined, then it becomes easier for us, whatever approach you want to take, to take that measure. But we can't just go in. If we have not been able to, have the assurance that those that are taking these people in are in a position that is easier for us to go in and then come out, with the kind of result that we expect.
Doctor, they said the first week, there's still some shock within the body system and the minds. But then when it comes to a month, there are difficult realities. Does the passage of time complicate rescue efforts?
It may appear to us that it does, but it may not. When you see there was an immediate response, immediately that incident happened, and we know what happened. Okay? So we might say the longer the time, the more these people are able to dig in. But the longer the time, the more it gives us the opportunity to have a clearer understanding of what we are planning for, and have a better approach, be able to review, different approaches that we want to take. So that's what is important. So depending on how you look at it, that, the longer the time, the more we begin to lose hope. No, I don't expect that we should lose hope. Okay. We are fighting a war that's not conventional. So when you're fighting an unconventional war, it requires you to be more on your feet than ever. So the one in Ibadan was more conventional because we knew where these people were, and it was easier for us, to bring it to them. But in this instance, we are talking of people who are in the forest, which is not easily accessible. Okay? So we need to take that into understanding. And I know that Oyo State alone is not on this matter. Surrounding states are collaborating. So that's what gives us an advantage.
You mentioned that this is the first time that it's happening, like the demand for, people in captivity to be returned. Well, it's not the first time. Muhammad Buhari, during his administration, it was requested to, swap the release of the abducted Chibok girls. So this is not the first time. Also, it happened in Katsina State. Bandits demanded the release of associates and commanders instead of ransom. So if it's something that has happened before and is happening, why are they taking so long? I mean, they had a way they approached it then, and whatever the results they got. So why are they taking long now?
So thank you for that remembrance. Yeah, what was the tactic that was used at that time? What was the result? Okay? And again, you take into consideration, we are now talking about minors.
Chibok girls were children.
No. Chibok girls were, relatively...
They're all children.
Yeah, because I think they were in their final... They were writing WAEC at that time.
Yes.
Okay? So probably you could say they were between the ages of 15, 16, 17 or thereabout. But you are talking of 2-year, 3-year-old who cannot think for themselves. Those girls, we had cases of, some of those Chibok girls that escaped. They were able to do that because they could, to some extent, reason and take decision on their own. But you have minor children who probably are still wearing pampers. So how do they, they can't think for themselves. They can't act for themselves. So these are, very, very vulnerable set of people away from what happened with Chibok and what have you, okay? Now, if you're asking that you want to swap, what I don't know yet is those that, if actually it is true, those are being asked to be released, when were they, convicted? What was their crime? Who did the conviction? Was it the state government? Was it federal government? If it's not the state government, if those that are being asked for are those that were convicted by federal government, then it takes it away from the hands of our state government. It brings it to the doorstep of the federal government, which means there's a need for collaboration between the federal and the state, handling this matter. Now, our governor has told us that we are not going to negotiate with these people. And I think the president too has reiterated that. If we are not doing that, then what approach are we taking? Obviously, we do not expect that should be discussed in the open, because these are security issues. And we know that these people have informers among us. So whatever we do, whatever we say, gets to them. So how do we now, work our way in a way that whatever we are planning does not leak? In doing that, you need to put in a lot of checks. And when you are doing that, it takes time. Some, you might even come to conclusion, you may have to dismantle.
Doctor, now I've been having a series of questions in my head, and it's not just about the families of those affected. How do these people get this information passed across to people in the society? It's a huge question that I'm still trying to find an answer to, because we need to understand their workings to be able to apprehend them, to stop them, right? And we are looking at a situation where they were able to pass something to social media. We immediately saw some of the demands on blogs. There's so many things that even the security operatives did not get to know as at when it was happening until they saw it in the blog. And it raises a lot of questions. Who are the people that they have been working with? How did they set that up?
Yeah, thank you. I think to every reasonable mind, to every discerning mind, this is an issue that we need to interrogate. What gives these people strength is the amount of collaboration, inadvertently, that we give to them. Obviously, there are collaborators among us, but those of us who inadvertently, thinking that, we are just disseminating information, we are the ones that even, kind of giving them that strength, okay? I've interrogated it, I've tried to come to conclusion, and if it step is taken, the tendency is for us to begin to say, our rights is being trampled upon. Now, previously, what we knew that these people do will be using telephone, okay? And they know that now that is easy to be tracked. Now they are now using, conduits. Because, ask yourself, how do we get, what comes from these people? We should ask that question. And I think those who are broadcasting these things should help us. It's important. We need to get to the root, get to the bottom of how do these people get information out. Who is the first recipient? We need to, find out. And when we do that, we might be getting closer, to reining them in. If you don't do that, the more they push out information, the more we broadcast. We are, strengthening them. Because they know that, someone out there is getting to know what they are saying. And they get feedback from us. When the Speaker of the House mentioned that these people were asking for 1 billion and the rest of it, they came out to say no. So how do they get to know? Someone is feeding them, and someone is now being a conduit, helping them to transmit whatever information they have from their own enclave to us.
All right. Thank you very much, Doctor. We have to pay this commercial break, and of course, when we return, we'll still have more questions on this particular conversation that we have in this morning.
When malaria knocks you down, you can be sure parasites are having a party in your system.
Welcome to our new kingdom, guys!
Comel, an effective weapon against malaria. Attacking the parasite army directly to give you express relief and get you back on your feet effectively. Comel on. Malaria gone.
Welcome back. It's still AM120 on BCOS television, and we're talking about Orire abductions, 1 month in captivity, with our guest, Dr. Wahid Busari. He's a journalist and a lecturer, LCU Ibadan. Take it over.
All right, so, well, the question I just in mind now is, are we paying attention to the loved ones? Because, I mean, the first 2 weeks, we saw them in tears. We saw them continually coming outside to speak and all that. But it's almost like there's a deafening silence that we are getting from them right about now. And, you know, we start to think, is anybody really paying good attention to them? You know, there's a level of pele that you do that. The person would even be like, Emma King Pelemo, you know. And these are things that we need to work.
No, it's a cultural thing. When things like this happen, the first time, it's hot with all of us. And it's easier for us to, get ourselves together and then begin to, in this instance, we are not sympathizing, okay? But we need to identify with them, okay? We are not sympathizing because we know that these people are still alive, except for those who lost their lives. So, it's a normal thing with human beings. With this, the weight will begin to, become lightened, okay? We begin to, assume a normal life. And then, once in a while, begin to say, oh, this man is there. Let me visit, okay? But it's not going to be like the first time it happened. And it cannot be forever. That is the reality of life. Life has to continue, okay? The only thing is that, our minds, our prayers are still with these people. And we are hoping. We had all of us that have that hope. And I'm sure that the day those people get with this, you will see what happened, around those people, even across the country. There will be jubilation. So it's normal with human, life.
But then, Doctor, you agree with me that a lot of people feel there is no, there's inadequate, care when it comes to the psychology, when it comes to the rehabilitation of these victims and their families. And, we need to start looking inwards. I mean, there should be professionals, experts who would know, the processes, the stages that they can take these people through so that, something good, something beneficial happens to the society at large.
Obviously, they become traumatized. There's no doubt about that. And I am of the mind that we need to have in place a post, trauma treatment that we give to these people. But who bears the cost? That's the number one. Number two is, have you had that before? Okay, if you had, what has been our experience, from it? The tendency is that we just, take it to be normal, and we go ahead. We've had people who've been to war, and when they come back, you see them behaving in an abnormal way because of the psychology of the war, the trauma they went through. And that's why when you are, getting discharged, you are taken in, and then you are debriefed. It's important. So these people have suffered, even if it was just 1 minute. It's an experience that no one wishes for. And when it happens, there must be something the society has to do to bring you back to that normal life you were living before that time. So I hope, and I do expect, that governments at all levels, particularly the local government, will have a plan to rehabilitate these people whenever they get released.
So speaking about losing lives, we had like a recent encounter situation with the General Rabi situation. They brought back his body. And then we also had similar situation with this Orire abduction, and we didn't get the body back. And you mentioned at the beginning that, situations are different with the in-house kidnapping that happened and, in the forest. You made that difference. You made that known. So what exactly went wrong here? Why did we get this body and we did not? Because when that one happened, people assumed that it was because of, because of power, influence, and everything. So why did it happen in this situation? And with the Orire community abduction, we could not get the body back.
Yeah, I think, reading the minds of these criminals, I know that because we are told was that the general died naturally, though he didn't die in his natural habitat, okay? He had health issues, and those probably, complicated his condition, and then he passed on. But one, how did you get to know that he died? Who told us?
Who brought his body?
That's the first starting point. How do we know that he died? Then who brought his body? Where was he dropped? Who went to pick it? Who was contacted? I mean, these are issues, when you're talking about issue of security and you want to break into this, I think you should consider. What that means is that, these people are probably prioritizing their victims. Okay? We've had cases of people who have died in captivity and their bodies were never found. I read a story about a woman who was kidnapped in Kaduna State, and he said he spent 9 months in captivity. And the first day they got there, one of them who tried to escape was killed. And 2 of them were asked to go and dispose of the body. Okay? It depends on the mindset of these people. Don't forget, those who perpetrate this act are people who live with us, are people who know us more than we know them. So when it happens like this, they might say, okay, let's release the body. And they may probably have collected ransom. It's possible. We are not told, but it's possible. And they could say, there was an incident, here in Oyo State. Someone was kidnapped and someone was killed in the process. And those kidnappers apologized that they didn't mean to kill the man they killed, but it just happened. I mean, you begin to, query yourself, the sanity, the reason behind what they do. At times you want to say, are they human beings? Because the way they act could be confusing. So in this instance, it's possible that, something might have exchanged hands and they felt, the fair is fair. If we have collected this, the best is that we should return, the body. But our man in Orire, they killed him to make a statement, so to say. And in doing that, you don't expect that they will want to, become, someone you can patronize and say, we want to return the corpse. They might even feel that when they do that, they get themselves exposed. Okay? It's possible that the general's body had been dumped somewhere before even making the announcement that he has died. But in this instance, they killed our own man for a purpose. And we won't expect that once they did that, they want to, because they know that they have been, enclosed, so to say. Stepping out of that enclosure will expose them. That's a reality. And they may want to, for their own safety too, though I know they can't be safe for life, forever. The law will still catch up with them. But they will think that stepping out and bringing out that corpse, particularly in the manner the man was killed, okay, will expose them, and they won't want that to happen.
Doctor, now, we understand that a lot of times when we have terrorist situations like this, the dynamics of each situation gets to become a lot more different, especially when there's that prolonged, silence, when there's a prolonged hostage situation happening. And we are seeing the different movements being made. At first, there was a video. We noticed the tone of the video from the principal who was used. And then in subsequent videos, I think, to me, she appeared a bit more relaxed. And the message she was passing across, for me, in my own mind, I'm not a security expert, but it sounded more like maybe those guys were starting to get a bit out of their wits and that they were looking for something to happen fast. But then, how does this help us? How are we working intelligence regarding the situation?
Yeah, thank you for that. I watched the first clips, I watched the last one, where the principal told us that, oh, this is what these people are demanding, not what is out there in the public. And I tried to look at the composure of the principal. She's an adult. The first, probably, couple of days that happened, she will be destabilized. Okay? But the more the days, the more relaxed you become, so that you clear your head, you keep your head clear. Okay? You might even be planning. And you need to be calm to be able to do that. They may probably have accepted their reality. Oh, we are in captivity. There's no, what is next for us is either we are getting out or we are not getting out. But the more will be that one day somehow we'll get out. So when that happens, that is what I saw in that principle. Even though what he said was under duress, I knew that the curtain behind her, some people were behind that curtain, probably holding guns. And she knew. Okay? And definitely she regurgitated what she was told. It wasn't a script. It was a script written for her. Probably she has gone over it several times before they do their recording. They might, don't be surprised. They might, because these guys too, I don't think they are not unintelligent people. They might have done some editing, or some people might be doing it for them somewhere to make sure that, oh, what this woman said is what he wants to get out. Okay? So, it is good for us to see that the principal is in a calm state of mind. So whatever we are planning, even if we are able to get information across to her, she will be able to receive it and then, be in a position to process it. So that she has become relaxed is good. Okay? I know that the forensic expert will have done an analysis of the way, the manner, the environment, and what have you. And then that might even help us in their planning.
Doctor, do you think the protests have kept this issue alive? Because a lot of people feel if there are none of these protests over time, maybe people would not even care about this case as much as we do now.
When that protest was coming out, I'm sorry to say this, what I said was that the protest came too late. Probably, if we had protested when those Chibok girls were abducted, this might probably have helped us in putting in place more security measures around vulnerable locations. Okay? These people don't go to places where they know they can't get in and get out, as a plan. So they look for soft spots. And that's where we are supposed to have concentrated more of our attention. Okay? So now that we have protested, what was our objective? So what extent have we realized our objective? Okay, are we just protesting for protesting sake? If we are protesting for now, what are we saying about a reoccurrence of such? Okay, are we calling our attention to the fact that this should not happen again? And what will not make it to happen are things that we put in place. So these are issues. No, protest alone is not enough. We need to put in ideas and then find ways of, putting those ideas into action. Me, I don't usually agree that, when we send someone an errand, you must leave that person to do it the way he likes. No. Our leaders, those who govern us, are on errand for us. We can't just leave them to it. We need to put our ideas across to them and then find a way. That's why I'm more important, interested in who is my lawmaker. Now, who is my governor? Because I know governor is one. In our state, we have about 32 lawmakers, which means 32 more heads put together. We want better than one head. So when one head wants to, go wrong, 32 will be, available to put him on the right path. So it's important for us to begin to connect with those who are our representatives.
Okay. Yesterday, at the protest where we had a very dark man coming to Ibadan, leading it over to the presence of the governor of Oyo State, we saw the governor saying Oyo State will never be another Chibok. And he also reassured that they are been in contact. Is this reassurance good enough for everybody asking questions?
One, we have to have that trust in those who lead us. When we don't have that trust, whatever they do or whatever they want to do, even when it is right, will not seem right to us. When we trust them, even when they are going wrong, we'll be able to tell them, and they will know that whatever we're telling them out of sincerity. So there's no other person, there's no other authority that can give us assurance or even reassurance than the government. Because the responsibility of government, the primary responsibility of government is security of lives and property of people within their domain. So what the governor has sold.
So speaking about this protest, at the beginning of the whole situation,
for you to be able to read
Victor, even you they use money point?
Of course now, they use money points.
Confirm.
Money Point, made for your progress.
At this point, the use of collaboration, how is it working so?
Yeah.